to the Ari and Sid show. I'm Ari.
And I'm Sid. We're forever friends, and this is the shit we care about.
Yeah. On any given day, we're texting back and forth, talking about some shit. Sometimes it's important shit, sometimes it's not so important. And so we made this show so that we can get together and talk about that shit and maybe learn from each other along the way.
Of course. And as always, we want to stay engaged with you all. So if you like what you hear, you got some shit that you care about, leave us a review, comment, concern, all of that. Like, subscribe, be a part of our family.
Yeah, the more the merrier. So before we get into the episode, let's do a little check-in. You know, we're coming towards the end of Black History Month, but Black history is every day in each and every one of us. So we're just gonna keep saying it. How you doing, Sid? What's going on with you?
I am doing pretty well, y'all. Pandemic is trying to, take your girl out, but we still here. We still strong. I don't know if I told you, but like a couple weeks ago, this is like now 2 weeks ago, at least, I was tuning my guitar because, I'm a beginner guitar player nowadays, and I popped one of my strings. So I haven't been able to play my guitar in a couple of weeks. And I'm sad because I'm procrastinating with getting it fixed, but I'm writing it in my agenda to do this week to get that string fixed so I can get back to my guitar because I miss it.
Are you going to take it to like Guitar Center or something?
I don't really know. I don't really know right now. I don't know if I'm going to take it to a Guitar Center. I don't know if I'm going to try to do it myself. That's going to be a part of the research. So I'll let you know.
We gonna check in about it. All of us. Y'all leave a comment midway through this week. We're going to check in with Sid to see where she's at.
Yes. How are you doing though?
Oh, I'm in grad school. So that shit is, and now I'm questioning, do I want to be in grad school during a pandemic while I'm working at home? And yeah, but I'm doing good. I just keep reminding myself that, hey, I woke up today and God is good. So
all the time,
God is good. You gotta finish it. Sorry, y'all, if y'all not religious, but yeah, moving on. I don't want to spend too much on that shit because I can get going on all the life's updates, but I'm excited about today's topic because this is something that I feel like comes up so often.
Right. So if you are new here and you're, just popping into listening to us, this month of February, our theme is Black Women Appreciation Month. So, we've been talking about just how amazing and dope Black women are, which is, we can literally do that every single day and take up every month. But, we're doing that just for this month, adding a little extra shine to that. And so today, Ari and I wanted to talk a little bit about, what our experiences as Black women and Black children and Black girls have been like growing up in Arizona. So
yeah, being Black while in Arizona is quite an interesting experience, I would say. I've met several people who aren't from here, and they don't get it. So they don't get why people. No, I'm just kidding. So to start us off, is your family from Arizona?
My parents are from Arizona. My mom kind of like split her time, I want to say, like her like early years between Texarkana, Texas and Phoenix, Arizona. But by the time she was like, I think like middle school, high school, they were pretty much here all the time, year round. And my dad's family is from here as well. But I know like outside of my parents, like my grandparents, I think mostly it's like Texas, Oklahoma, that area. Yep. What about you?
My parents are, well, no, let me rewind. My dad is from North Carolina. So he moved out here to Arizona when my uncle got stationed here. And then my mom is from Arizona, and her dad, so my grandpa, was from, where is he from? I know he did a stop in Texas, but he is from somewhere in the Midwest, and I don't know why I can't think of it right now. But he moved down to the Southwest when he was like 30 or so. And then, he never looked back. He lived here until he passed. So, and then myself, I've lived here most of my life, and I lived in other places, but when you're a kid, doesn't really count. If you don't live there longer than a year, so I think a year or 2 years may have been the max when I was a child, but literally what I remember is mostly Arizona.
Right. Yeah. I spent my whole entire childhood in Arizona. I didn't live anywhere other than Arizona until I moved to DC for grad school. So there's that. It's my
you jumped out that
life.
Jumped out that nest and never looked back. No, I'm just kidding.
Girl, I jumped out the nest and went to the entire other side of the country. Like,
I know. If you didn't like us, you didn't have to move that far. Like, you could have just moved to, Minnesota or something. I don't know. I'm not good with geography, so.
I'm not either. I couldn't tell you where that was. But yeah. And did you grew up mostly in like the Phoenix area too, right? Like Phoenix proper, like Glendale, Peoria, that kind of area?
Yeah, so I lived most of my childhood off of 43rd Avenue and Glendale. What? Shout out to Peter Piper Pizza, still staying strong. I think Peter Piper Pizza is the only thing that is still standing in that little plaza right there.
Oh my goodness.
Because there used to be a Food City, there used to be a Payless, all kinds of stuff right there. And it's really interesting because if you cross the street to 43rd Avenue, literally goes from Glendale. One half is Glendale, one half is Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So what I would always say to people, like, yeah, when my brother got in trouble, all he had to do was cross the street and, the cops wouldn't be able to arrest him. Just kidding. He wasn't a bad kid, but yeah. So Glendale High School, all that good jazz. That's where we met. So where did you grow up? I know you grew up in different parts. Well, at least we like to say you South Side Sid. So
I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah. So like, when I was a kid, I went to Balloon. Wow. I went to Bethune Elementary. So I want to say that's like in like West. That's like more so West Phoenix, right? That area, IG Homes Boys and Girls Club. That's the area that I really grew up in until about like third grade. Third grade was when fourth grade. We moved around a lot, y'all. We moved around a lot. And just like in the Phoenix area, really when like between like second and fourth grade, we moved a lot. But fourth grade, we settled in Glendale, and we moved a few times in Glendale, but really around the same area, like 59th and Bethany, 51st and Olive, like all those areas. Shout out to Castles and Coasters. I definitely worked at Castles and Coasters. Yeah, it was down the street. Shout out to Metro Center.
R.I.P. too.
Right. Yeah, that's really where I spend most of my time. But I did like, I know that when I was like a baby, that's when we were living on the South Side because that's where my parents both grew up. They literally grew up like 2 blocks away from each other. Parents both went to South Mountain High.
It's where like all tale. I'm just kidding. If y'all listening, I'm just kidding.
They and like my cousins all kind of like live over there. I want to say like most of my cousins like went to either South or Chavez, I think, on my mom's side, and so we would spend our weekends over there, like, either at my aunt's house. Also shout out to my aunt at RIP. She was, Southside Candy Lady. Towards Price. You feel me? Spend some time over there on the weekends, extended weekends, school breaks. We'd be over there playing around with my cousins and stuff. But Yeah, for the most part, my family did live in Glendale for most of my like youth. So spent a lot of time out there, which was really, really different, right? Because, and I know this was like a question we wanted to talk about, like, you know, when did you have your first Black teacher? And for me, like when I lived in like West Phoenix, I went to Bethune, and Bethune was a predominantly Black school. So like,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
remember. I mean, my kindergarten teacher was a white woman, but like first grade, second grade was definitely a Black. My second grade was my first Black teacher, Mr. Griffith. Second grade, dang, I was so excited to have a Black teacher, and like it was a male teacher, which was really dope. And like you don't think about like how powerful that is, like when you're in second grade, but like that's super powerful. I actually, no bullshit, when I was at Howard, when I was in grad school, I thought about this dude. I thought about him because he was like a really great teacher. He made me love math. And I found his contact information because he had like that same year won like teacher of the year or professor of the year for a community college he was teaching at in Arizona. And I emailed him and I was like,
Aww.
you probably don't remember me. This was like ages ago. I was like, but you were my second grade teacher. And like, I fuck with you so hard, body. I'm so like, I know you don't really like know me anymore, but like, congratulations on winning this award. Like, I'm sure you're still like a badass teacher. And like, just thank you for like making me like love education. And he was like, that is so, and like, you know, like we caught up. I told him like, what I was doing. And he was like, that's so dope. He's like, really? He's like, this means a lot for me for you to like email me. He's like, people don't do that every day to their teacher. I'm like, yo, he was awesome. I also had my third grade teacher was bomb. She's a Black woman. Even the teacher who took over for her, because she left for maternity leave halfway through the year, was a Black woman, and she was dope too. And so I was used to having Black teachers when I was young, and then when I moved to Glendale was actually when it shifted, because I didn't have any like, I mean, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, I did have a Black teacher. Fourth and fifth grade, there was not one. Sixth grade, I had a Black teacher, and it was another guy, which was again really dope. Fifth grade, I had a Black teacher as well, and she actually used to go to church with my great grandmother, which was wild.
Oh,
and
wow.
I didn't know that till high school. It was so weird. They were like good friends. So crazy. Just like, you know, that 6 degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Middle school, I had one Black teacher. He's my science teacher, another dude. I don't think I had any Black teachers in high school.
You didn't have Mr. Scott?
No,
you didn't have art. Did you have Mr. G? No, Galbraith?
No, because I took Who's Across the Hall. I took advanced with whoever was. I took AP with whoever was across the hall. I forget what his name was, but I know Mr. Galbraith because you had him, and y'all used to like joke around with each other, and so that's the only reason I would like see him. And of course, like walking by him and just, you know, knowing him on campus because he was like one of the only like 2 or 3 Black teachers on campus.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, I didn't have any Black teachers in high school. What about you? What was elementary school like for you?
Well, so what's interesting, I moved, my mom and my dad, we moved back and forth to California, Vegas a few times, but I would always go back because my grandpa owns the townhouse across from Barcelona Middle School. And so I spent a lot of my time when I would move back at Barcelona Middle School. So literally, besides kindergarten and maybe first grade, I really don't remember first grade. I went to Barcelona from 2nd through 8th grade. And what's interesting is once I became a 6th grader, Barcelona stopped being a school that was K through 8. So I didn't have my first Black teacher until I was in 6th grade, Miss Woodfork. And I can't remember, in 6th grade, we would move classrooms, but she was like my main classroom, like my home, not my homeroom, but you know, like she was my homeroom, but then I also like stayed there for various periods of time. And she was actually the teacher that taught, that I had that project with about, like we had a Black History Month project where we would have to create some sort of display. And that's how I learned about Bessie Coleman.
Oh, okay.
And it's interesting also because I don't remember learning about Black history the way that we learned with her, which I'm sure that's no coincidence, you know? And then I didn't have my next Black teacher until Mr. G, which was my senior year.
Damn.
Because my senior year, and the only reason why me and Mr. G would joke around is because I actually wasn't supposed to be in his class. I was supposed to be in AP.
That's right.
But because my schedule didn't I couldn't take, I had to have either AP theater or not AP theater, but advanced drama or AP history. And the theater teacher said no, that I couldn't be in advanced theater. So I had to take regular history. And so a lot of the times, I got 100% on our final. I think I may have missed one, but I had gotten the highest score in our entire grade. And so Mr. G and me, he's he knew I didn't have he knew I wasn't supposed to be in that class. So he would let me basically slack off. So yeah. And then I know we had, Mr. Scott wasn't really our teacher, but he was the basketball coach. So that's the only reason why I knew him.
That's the only reason why I knew Mr. Scott.
But yeah, so I only had 2 Black teachers. And now that I think about it, I don't think I had any Black teachers at ASU either.
I was going to mention that. I've never had one Black professor at ASU. I think I had 2 professors of color that I can remember my senior year. They were, I don't know where they're from, actually. I can't even remember their names, but I just remember because I remember at that point I had started counting, trying to really realize I have not seen any. Hold on, wait a minute.
Right.
My time's up here, and but yeah, I definitely didn't have any Black professors at ASU. Not one.
Do you think that having a Black teacher wasn't you had them when you were younger? Do you think, I know you mentioned your 2nd grade teacher, but do you think had you not have had them that you would have seen Arizona in a different light, or do you think you would have had a different experience?
I think having Black teachers is really important. I think having teachers that look like you is important, right? I also think that because of the way the American education system is set up, I think when we have Black teachers, that's sometimes our only opportunity to hear shit for real. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Or to feel seen or feel a part of it. I know growing up, it wasn't oh my God, I have a Black teacher, because I went to an all Black school at first. You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
We were in West Phoenix. Everybody over there was Black or, Mexican. But when I did notice when I moved to Glendale, I started to notice more I was the only. You know what I'm saying? That's when I started being the only. My 5th grade year, I had Miss Nicholson, and she was a bomb ass Black teacher. I was her only Black student.
Oh, wow.
I think, no. I had one Black guy in my class. I think Jonathan Brown was in my 5th grade class. But yeah, but it it was the opposite. It was invert. I noticed that I was one of few, or one of, you know what I'm saying? There's only so many Black people in the 5th grade. I remember people joking oh, you're going to date so-and-so because he's the only other Black kid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, things like that. That's very weird. So I do think it makes a difference. And I think it makes a difference to the other kids too. Because if no one ever sees a Black teacher, then no one thinks a Black teacher exists. And then when they finally see a Black teacher, they're oh, there must be something really, really special about you because you got to be a Black teacher. It's
that's true.
No, so I do think it's important. And I mean, I'm glad that I had, now that I think I'm glad that I had Black male teachers, because Black men make up 2% of the education system, of teachers, period. You know what I'm saying? In the United States, at least. So the fact that I can say that I've had several is in Arizona is kind of dope. It's very dope, actually. So I appreciate that. But I do wish that, there were more, especially like high school and college, like the fact that and like, you shouldn't have to be in African American studies to have Black teachers at a PWI. Like it's not a request. It's not where you have to stick all your Black employees. And, so not to say that that's what ASU did, but I know that, when I was in the social work program, I did not have any Black professors teaching to me, and, so I think that also kind of plays into, like I mentioned, for like elementary school and like grade school, it plays into the education system, the curriculum, but even in college, it starts to play into the curriculum and like what things are taught and what things are paid attention to. And how things are written and said, right? So,
what's interesting? My first Black teacher was in 6th grade, but there were several Black kids at my school, and Mexican and Albanian. Like there was a large Albanian population in my neighborhood. What's the other thing that it's not Albanian? Bosnian. There's a large Bosnian population. So it's interesting how when you moved to Glendale, you were like the only in some of your classes. And like, I don't think I ever had that experience until I got to college. I was never the only until, college, when I'd look around and be like, oh, I can count on one hand in a 400 class.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit. And when I, like, okay, in a 30 student class, okay, yeah, like when I was in elementary school, it would be reasonable. But like when you go to, a university and it's like literally you wave at people because you're like, I see you, girl. We not alone.
I think that's really interesting too, because I mean, we weren't like cities away from each other.
Right. No, not
we
at all.
We weren't very far away. We didn't grow up super, from where you were in like Glendale, like Barcelona area. And like, I was closer to like Landmark and Mensendick. And like, that's where like, I grew up in Smith and like things like that. So schools like that. So we weren't super far away from each other, but that is interesting that like our experiences were different.
Yeah. And, like what I've been thinking about a lot more lately is how as a kid, it wasn't important to me, to be honest. It wasn't important to me because like I knew like, the Black kids, like I knew the Black kids, like, or they knew me or like, whatever. We'd see them outside of school. Although in our neighborhood, there wasn't that many Black. It's interesting because like in our little townhouses that we lived in, 43rd Avenue in Glendale, which townhouses I'm talking about. We lived there. So in ours, there wasn't that many Black kids. But in the apartment complexes is where all the Black kids who went to our school lived. And so in our neighborhood, we mostly like if we wanted, we had to stay at our little townhouse complex. So we would hang out with like the white kids and the Mexican kids and even the Bosnian. I had a friend. Shout out to Erica. Hey, girl. And her family was the only other Black family that I can remember that I knew, besides the ones that robbed us, whatever. So what was my point? I don't remember my point, but it wasn't, that's what I was saying. It wasn't like, I wasn't overtly aware that like, that wasn't like Arizona was such a white state when I was a kid. It didn't arise, like, it didn't come to my, my awareness or whatever, until high school when we would go and play other high schools, like in basketball. And I just remember, and you probably know where I'm going with this, about this one specific high school. I'll leave them nameless because they are a religious-based high school. But do you remember when I was on the court and I got elbowed so hard in my chest? The referee was literally right next to us, me and this girl, because she couldn't go nowhere and everybody, like, she couldn't pass the ball either. So she threw her elbow into my chest and it hurt and it took me a second. I'm like, wait, there's no foul? And I looked at her, I looked at the ref, I looked back at her, looked back at the ref, and I just pushed the shit out of her. And then like all the crowd was like booing at me and I got a technical And I'm like, you just let somebody else just elbow me. Like that's not a move that you can do in basketball. You can't just fucking elbow somebody in the chest. So, and then like at the end of the game, none of their teammates like slapped my hands. You know, I pushed her. She elbowed me. Come on, bro. Like that was fighting. Like I should have just fought her ass, but I didn't. And so having those type of experiences outside of, you know, because Glendale, I feel like was a pretty diverse school. You know, we did have like a small population of Black kids, but like it was fairly diverse. So going to other places in Arizona that like were super, super white and super, super like, hey, you guys are coming here and we see you as like less than. I became overtly aware of it when like during those experiences of like sports and things, because I was very much so in a bubble, you know, like we didn't leave our little townhouse area unless we were with our parents. And at that point, like, I don't know where the hell we were going. You know, we'd literally probably only go to my uncle and aunt's house. So when I was a kid, I didn't think about like, oh, you know, we're the minority here, not just because of the color of our skin, but because like in numbers.
Yeah.
And now that I'm an adult, I'm like, holy shit, Arizona is only 7% African-American, Black, whatever you want to call yourself. Like 7% of the entire population is not, there's millions of people here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's insane to me.
Honestly, it was moving to Glendale definitely like made me aware of it. Like I remember being in like the 4th and 5th grade and just feeling like the ugly girl because I was the Black girl. Like I don't even know how else to explain it. Like that it was just that. Like I was like embarrassed of like being outside for as long as everybody else because I'm gonna come in darker. Like nobody else is gonna come in, like, and they're gonna point it out. They're gonna think it's funny. And like, you know, kids are kids, and depend on how you raise, you're going to think that it's okay to say certain stuff. And like, I do remember being like, just really, and like, just anxious about being Black because like, I know someone's going to point it out. You feel me? Like, sorry. I'm just bringing back shit, but I remember that. And I remember, feeling like the ugly girl, other girl. I'm like, I had to like really do some like self-work to like get over that, because like that even kind of impacted the way that like I looked at friendship. Like I was thinking that these girls are my friends and like they're literally making fun of me in my face and like, you know what I'm saying? Like shit like that. Like I don't wish that on nobody. And so I definitely was aware, but like at the same time, like, what do you do? Like, you can't change it. You know, you can't change your hair, Sydney. Like, oh my God. I remember in the 5th grade, like, you know how like you're young, everyone's trying to talk like, you know, boys, this and that, or out on the playground, you're playing tag, blah, blah, blah. We'd come back from recess and it'd be hot, you know, it's Arizona. So like girls would be like taking out their ponytail holders and like redoing their ponytails, and like everyone's wearing like a messy bun, da da da. Like I'm Black. First of all, this is an Afro puff. This is not a ponytail. Okay. This is an Afro puff. I'm gonna take this ponytail holder out, or this hair tie out, and my hair is going to stay going towards the sky. It's not going to fall down. And so I remember like a girl being like, why doesn't your hair fall down when you pull out your ponytail holder? And being so embarrassed because like, bitch, I don't know. Like, Nick, wait a minute.
Oh my gosh.
Like, first of all, why would you put me on the spot? Like, you know, we're kids. And so like, that shit sucks, dog. That shit really sucks. And like, you did make a good point. Like Glendale was pretty diverse. Like, I mean, granted, like, I know that there was only 20 Black people in my graduating class. Like, I counted them on my hands. Like, you know, I can list them all right now, honestly, because I know them all the names by heart, because we all hung out together. But at the same time, you said, like, it was a diverse campus. And also, like, I think because a lot of us that went to Glendale, we all sort of like, Glendale was like a combination of like only a certain amount of like middle schools. You feel me? Like, so it was like a bunch of different middle schools came together into one high school. And whoever didn't go to Glendale went to what, like Independence and Apollo, right? So like, we've all been around each other essentially for like the last 8 or 6 or so years or whatever, middle, like, you know, elementary through high school. Like I know people who I knew in middle school didn't go to knew in elementary school, excuse me, didn't go to middle school together, but then we saw each other back in high school. Right? you know? So I think because of that, it kind of made us like a little family, a little like more close knit. Like high school felt really small, like a fan. Like I mean, our school wasn't super big anyway, but like
Yeah.
everybody knew everybody, and like to a certain extent, everyone kind of like looked out for everybody, unless like you really didn't fuck with those people, then you really didn't fuck with those
Right.
people, and that was known. Um, and I
Yeah,
think
that's
that I think even
that's
that is like part of the culture.
it's crazy how like I just so speaking on your experience as like being the only black girl in middle school and fifth grade and being asked those questions, um it's it's interesting, not interesting, it's sad, like you had mentioned, but it's just like so fucking ignorant of those kids' parents, right? And like that's who we're gonna blame it on. But also, I feel like my experiences and my people wanted to figure out what I was. They weren't even identifying me as black. They just wanted to know what I was mixed with. Like, oh, what are you mixed with? Because they knew I was mixed. So I always felt like I was being like, you know, not necessarily observed, but like, oh, hey, what's your name? What are you? Blah, blah, blah. I had mentioned that last episode. But now that I am an adult, people recognize me. Like kids recognize me and like, oh, you're mixed. And now that I'm an adult, people, you know, see me and they identify me as black. They know I may be mixed, but they don't even like speak those words because I feel like maybe they've learned by now, like you don't ask somebody that. But I've now am like the only one. So not that like my first experience of being like the only one in a class, the only black person in a class was in college, right? And once I graduated, I am consistently the only black person on my teams and in an organization damn near. And like I can count on one hand, and I'm in a department at ASU. I can count on one hand how many black people are on our staff. And that includes probably part-timers. And we have 100+ part-timers, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I've had those kind of conversations. I remember somebody asking me, like, I was talking to them about like swimming and how like I don't really swim. And it's not because I can't, because I can. I just don't like what chlorine does to my hair, right? So we're having this conversation and like it has nothing to do with race, right? But other people are assuming that because I'm black, I don't like chlorine in my hair because like it does something to black people's hair. And so somebody who is of several generations higher than me asks me that. What is it about, you know, black people and their hair and swimming? And I'm like, well, it's nothing. I don't even know how to like, I didn't realize I was like, you're really asking me this. You're really asking me this question. Like, what is it about your hair? And I just don't like how it feels. Like personally, I'm not speaking on behalf of the whole black race because some people, a large portion of black people don't know how to swim. And that's none of your fucking business, nor is that relevant to this conversation.
Right. But, and on the other side of that, there's a large amount of people who do like to swim. We have black people who do swim, not the fact that they just made you the spokesperson. I
know. And so I find those conversations occurring in my organizations now as an adult. And so I'm like reflecting right now and seeing how like, of course our experiences are different. Obviously we look different, and seeing how I just don't know how I would be able to manage those kind of conversations as a kid. And I know that that's a privilege, you know, like that's a different conversation, but I just feel like how strong of a human being you had to be, specifically in Arizona, growing up in Arizona as a black kid and being just, maybe those kids didn't mean, right, to do whatever. But the fact is that it happened and they're asking these dumbass questions to a child. And that child has to then think at a level that they don't even like, you learn how to have those conversations in the moment. And it's just fucked up because I know in other parts of the United States, being a Black person is not fucking it's not taboo. Like you're not gonna, people aren't walking up to you and be like, oh, can I touch your hair? Or like, oh my gosh, I love, like, you go to the South, like that shit. Them motherfuckers have seen Black people before. They know, like, you know, Black people exist. Like they are. So yeah, I just reflecting on seeing how like you have those conversations that I'm having as an adult now that I am being the only one in the room. And I just couldn't imagine. And so it makes me sad, but it also like, I just know how like strong of a person you are, regardless of these conversations that you had, right, to have. And, you know, the self-work that you talk about doing is something that you can just truly see as like, that's a product. You're a product of all the things that you've worked through and you let go of. And, you know, you didn't let whatever people had said about you or assumed about you, you know, as a kid, because fucking being a kid and being Black and being in Arizona. And then like, you know, there are people who are like, oh, I don't like Black girls. Like I like light skinned girls.
Oh my
like, you know what I'm saying? Like you take, and you like, you know, Black women take those on, and like some people don't ever work through it and, you know, realize like those motherfuckers are dumb and they're wrong. You know,
they're dumb and they're wrong, but like, and that shit starts so young. Like, you're right. Like, that shit starts in like elementary school and middle school, where like, you know, little Black boys are mimicking what they see, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what kids do. But like, they're having these opinions about like, yeah, like I don't date Black girls, and that's why you Black girls this, and that's why. And then on the flip coin of that, you have men of other races who, or boys of other races who like are fetishizing Black girls.
Yeah.
I remember dating a Black kid, and I mean a Mexican kid in high school, and like before that, and it being really awkward because like for them it was like, oh, I have a Black girlfriend, and it being like, what the fuck is this, like but at the same time, like not even like being completely honest, at the same time there's a piece of you as a little Black girl who's like, oh, I have this boy who likes me and I'm a Black girl and he's not even a Black boy, so like I should feel good about that. And that's such a mind fuck. It's such a fucking mind fuck. Cause like, he doesn't really like you. You know what I'm saying? Like, first of all, we're kids. So we're kids. Right. But like, also like he actually doesn't want to be your friend. Like,
yeah, it's just like
it's interesting stuff you have to navigate while also just navigating like a normal life of being a middle school or an elementary school kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, and like I'm talking elementary, like 5th and 6th grade. So like, I guess that is considered middle school these days. I think some middle schools have 5th grade on their campuses, but I know 6th grade is definitely integrated in that now. But like, 6th grade is such a weird time, dog. I
know. I fucking hate.
That's why I love working with middle schoolers, because that's wait, what did you just say?
I said I hate 6th graders. They're so mean. I don't hate them as like people. I don't hate them as people, but like they're so mean. Kids are so mean in 6th grade, and it's like that can make or break somebody. You know what I mean? And regardless of
6th grade is such an essential time, because it was considered elementary school at one point. Like 6th graders were elementary school, and we know now that 6th grade is essential, and that's why they've moved it to middle school, because it's such a fucking weird ass time. You halfway want to still play with your Barbies, but you halfway want to be on the internet talking about you a bad bitch. Like it's confusing. It's confusing.
Some girls have their period. Some dudes are hitting puberty and getting beards and shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, it's weird. And then like, you're thinking like, okay, I'm going to middle school, and like middle school is about to be these next few years. It's gonna, you know, prepare me for high school. And then the world, Netflix tells you that high school is like drugs and fucking and driving fast cars. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like,
oh my gosh,
they're getting ready for that. And like, I don't know, but yeah, growing up in Arizona is very interesting. Do you think you would want to raise your kids in Arizona?
That is a great question. I don't know. I mean, part of me loves Arizona, but also I'm questioning that because like it's familiar. You know what I mean? I also really fucking love being places where there's a lot of Black people, and it has nothing to do with anything outside of, I just love us. I love being around Black people and supporting Black people. And you know what I mean? Like it also makes me feel like if I raised my kids in areas that were predominantly Black, they would have a little bit more culture. You know, not saying, I mean, Arizona is so weird because there's a culture here. It's just odd, you know, like it's not really much associated with values as it is like associated with a lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's conflicting things. So like in Arizona, there's no real like Black culture that kids, like it's in their face, you know, versus like in other areas of the country, like, you know, Black culture because like they, unless you're going to church in Arizona, like your culture is very much so a la carte, you know, you pick and choose. Your parents take you places and you know, but literally
or it's like it's attached to like your family before your family migrated to Arizona. Like, you know, like you're connected to like your Oklahoma roots or whatever roots of your family before your family came to Arizona. Y'all tap into that. Sorry, didn't want to cut you off, but I do agree with you on that part.
Yeah, so it's kind of, I don't know. I know. So like when I go to other places, I love learning about it, but like you only see like what's on the surface when you go and visit places, you know? And I'm definitely not one of those people that only does touristy things, you know? You travel with me.
Are not.
I like to get in where the locals go.
Exactly.
So, but you know,
travel partner.
Thanks. I take pride in that. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would like to be closer, like Kendall. If we do have a child, I mean that I'm banking on it because you know he gonna marry me. We all talking about it. I'm just kidding. But you know, I would like to be closer to his family. I don't know. That's a hard question. You moving back? You raising Amina here? Let's get down to the real. You have a child. I'm speaking hypothetical. You know what I'm saying? Are we gonna get Amina in the desert?
Not the way y'all playing with COVID. I be trying to tell everybody that. I'm like, y'all, Arizona clearly don't want me back because not the way y'all playing with COVID. I'm not bringing my baby to that. But I'm like, it's hard. Yeah, it definitely is hard. And like the thought of like taking my child from the DC area to Arizona, I feel like I would honestly be doing her a disservice. I'm just being 100%. Like, honestly, not even just thinking about DC. Like, we live in PG County. PG County is one of the like more wealthier counties that are like has. Let me start over. PG County is considered one of the counties that has a large and growing population of wealthy Black people. You know what I'm saying? So like young millennial wealthy families are and have been, I guess, inhabiting the PG County area. So like I think there is a lot of greatness in this area that we could stay here for, right? Like culture and things of that such. And as much as I hate winter, I fucking hate winter, dog. Like I cannot stand this shit. It also is really cool to like see the 4 seasons and like, you know, have things change and like not have to travel to like play in the snow and things like that and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. I don't know if Maryland and like, so DC, I'm never going to live in DC proper ever again in my entire life. Like I'm not a city girl. I don't need that. I love being able to drive into DC and like, and not be like, you know, take 15 minutes to get in DC, do what I want to do and come back home.
Yeah.
So, you know, Maryland might be the spot. But we also talked about, you know, places in the South, the Carolinas, things like that, because we have family and friends out there as well. Amina's goddads are in Atlanta. So, you know, that's a place that we thought about too. And of course, like, you know, there's Black people there, but then every place has its own, you know, issues. And then, when you think about it on a larger scale, it's like, I mean, is there anywhere safe in America?
I know, right? Lord.
You know, like when you're thinking about your kids, you start thinking about all different factors, the school system, healthcare and jobs and like, you know, neighborhoods and like all these other things. And then you have to be very realistic and be like, can my kid play in this neighborhood? Like, is my kid safe here? And like, when you start to do that math, then you crossing shit off left and right, in all honesty. So like, I don't, and so like, I guess that's one thing about Arizona. Like, I wouldn't say it was a dangerous place to live. I mean, not where I lived like compared to other places, like in like, larger cities.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, there is not one place in Arizona that I feel, well, there's one place, I won't name it, that I feel unsafe in. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not walking down the street, and I mean, there's different, depending on the time of day, and like, I pay attention to my surroundings. I'm not walking around like thinking I'm like, you ain't gonna fuck with me type of, but like, I'm not stepping out of my car and like clutching my bag no matter who's around, and like, being super, cautious because I'm afraid of the environment. There's not really any places. So in that sense, yeah, I could raise my kids, I could raise my kids. I mean, literally in the neighborhood, if we could afford a house here, shit, you know what I'm saying? I love this damn neighborhood so much. And there's a park right here, and we close to the hospital. So once if they clumsy like me, they crack their head open, you know what I'm saying? We right here. It's a nice little area. But like, again, like I said, like, I'm not paying anyways. That's a whole different conversation. But so like, yeah, being comfortable in your environment and like thinking about whether the safety is there because you live there. You've lived there for so long, like, versus like moving somewhere and having to take other people. Like some people, like if they asked me where I felt safe and where I didn't feel safe and they weren't from Arizona, they have to take my word for it.
Right. Yeah.
And vice versa. Like if I move somewhere, I have to be like, okay, I trust you and I trust your judgment. And then we moved there and your safety is whole different ball field. You know what I'm saying? I don't want motherfuckers speeding down my street in the middle, and you know what I mean?
Exactly. Right.
So like that might be safe to you, but like, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. But that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. I feel that a lot. So I don't know, like, what would you, I know that we basically talked about this, but what are other things that stand out to you as far as like, this is what being Black and growing up Black in Arizona is like? Because I definitely agree with you about like, we don't have like, there's not things that you're like, oh, they must be from Arizona. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have like a style of music or like anything like that like spits out like, oh, they're from Arizona. Right. But I also think because we've never really been given the space to celebrate being Black. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? There's not a space where like Black people are just celebrating all the time of being Black and what it attributes to being Black. And I think that's because 7% of the state, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's easy for it to kind of like go under the radar. And also I feel like even in like school and stuff, like it just wasn't really talked about. Like, oh, we don't have to talk about that. Like, like Black History Month. But other than that, we don't have to talk about it because like, I feel like, how like people say like Arizona's that state where like, it's like it's complacent. That's the word that comes to my head. Like we're very complacent when it comes to that. Like the state itself makes the environment complacent to where like it doesn't allow any excitement or any like, I can't even explain it. It's just like this complacency about race. And so like, maybe we're not inspired or like, given the space to celebrate Blackness in Arizona. Because I think also like there's a great history of Black greatness in Arizona that goes untalked about, right? Like for instance, Calvin Good was like an activist, a really great community leader. You know what I'm talking about, right? And he recently passed away. The fact that you even know who I'm talking about, like everyone knew who that was. And everyone know, you know what I'm saying? Like I did not know. So Calvin Good, he was, an activist, a really great community organizer, just a person of the community in Arizona, and really did great work for Arizona. He is the grandfather of one of my friends and my cousin's husband. So Adelaide Good, and Josh Good, right? What I didn't know is that my grandma, my dad's mom, and Calvin Good, Josh's grandpa, worked together for like 40 years. Like that was like her mentor. And he also was like a mentor to my dad. And he like was my dad's like reference for like his first few jobs. Like that 6 degrees of separation is so crazy, right? Like I didn't even know, like, you know, I knew Josh from ASU and like, you know, like he's with Lele. And so like we have a friendship. And this whole time I didn't even realize our families were connected on that level. But I also like people like Calvin Good and other people who've done things for, you know, Black folks in Arizona or just powerful Black folks in Arizona. You don't hear about them a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But people do know, like we know them, but we don't celebrate them a lot. And so I think like we should give folks flowers while they're here and celebrate more of the greatness and the Blackness that is happening in Arizona, because it's there. We're there. We might be, you know, small, but we're there.
Small but mighty.
Yeah.
Yeah. I echo all of that. And I would say that honestly, and this is kind of not to blanket my answer so that applies to everybody, but literally, I feel like Arizona is what you make it. Like there is possibilities to celebrate, you know, your Black culture if you choose to seek it out, you know, like, and that's not necessarily anybody's responsibility, you know, like besides like if you're a kid and your parents aren't seeking out opportunities to celebrate Blackness, then like you have to choose once you're older. And, you know, like I feel like there's opportunities for arts and culture here, you know, but I get asked all the time, like, oh, what's going on? Well, I used to get asked back when I was like always everywhere doing something. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to find it. Like, you know what I mean? And that's not always somebody's MO, you know, like I don't want to have to go and seek, you know, to celebrate being Black. Like, I just want to be like, I just want to know it's there, you know? And so we don't have that luxury in Arizona. So literally it doesn't matter. Like literally it doesn't matter what you are, what race you are. Arizona is what you make it. And then as far as when it comes to being Black, like you either have to find it or you have to make it. Like you don't get any slack to just be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna walk down to the deli real quick and meet up with some, you know, Black people. Like, no, there's no delis in Arizona on every corner. We don't have that shit. We have the corner store, maybe, you know what I mean? And it is ran by Arabs. Yeah.
You know, or you gonna get a Circle K, or you gonna get a Circle K.
Right. And so I feel like, yeah, that would be my answer. I think that there's potential here and it's always been here. And there are people doing some great shit, but like, if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. That's like 100% my answer. Like if you're not looking for Black people and Black celebration, you're fucking not going to find it. That shit is hidden. And it ain't in the South. Like the South side ain't the South side it was. Yeah, there's Black people that still live there, but like that ain't, motherfucker, they have $1 million houses in the South, on the South side now.
Yeah, like quit playing.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm sorry.
You're not gonna find, right? You're not gonna find it driving to a neighborhood that you like. It's just crazy here. And I know like everywhere has pockets of like just like that. Like Arizona is not special, but I think Phoenix is just different. You know, Phoenix has pockets in the middle of like literally you cross the freeway, which is like not even a mile past my house. And there's $1 million houses next to fucking run down apartment complexes. It's insane. You know what I mean? And that's just how gentrification works, you know? And I feel like just because they gentrify don't mean that they change in, you know, the Black culture that is here, because people have made a way, you know, like there are some places that are still here that have been around for so long and they're still staples in the Black community. But, you know, if people stop looking for them and stop recognizing them, then that shit's it's going to die. And then until somebody else comes around and they make some shit and then that stays hip for a little bit, you know, it's just like a rotation. Black people, they do something, it does amazing things. And then it dies out because people get old, financial situations change, you know, and if there's no community around them trying to lift it up, then that shit is what it is. So I feel like there's possibilities, but you know, like I said, if you want it, you'll find it. And Yeah, because I can think of a few. But anyways, I'll get off that soapbox. I think it's a special experience here in Arizona, and it's either for you or it's not.
Yeah, that's real. That's real. Okay, well, I want you to get back on your soapbox because I want you to talk about what you are raising awareness for. I know you have a project that you're doing right now, so I want you to share that with the folks before we, let them get out of here.
Yeah, so given the state of our world, I feel like there's more that I could be doing and outside of just sharing shit on social media. And so this organization came to my attention maybe a week or two ago, and maybe longer than that. And I've been it's been on my mind, thinking. And then I started seeing more stuff about pad and tampon drives. And then they popped up again on my social media. And it's Mutual Aid Phoenix, which mutual aids are everywhere. But I'm going to focus on the Phoenix one specifically because they have a few drop-off locations that are by my house. So I reached out to them and got their list, which their list is available mutualaidphoenix.com for their most needed items. And so I'm going to focus on collecting diapers and wipes, and we're going to call it the Wipes and Dipes Drive. I haven't.
Wipes and Dipes.
I love my rhymes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to focus on that for the next few weeks. I'm going to release more details on how you can contribute. And yeah, I think it's important. I know that there are people who are going through shit in other states, and I just don't. Of course, I'm going to donate money to them. I just don't know how the best way to give them the items. So I'm just going to focus on Phoenix. And then, Sydney is going to share some information on how you can support those in Texas and the other states that are being affected by natural disasters right now.
Yeah.
I guess they're not really natural.
I love that because the doula in me loves babies. So shout out to Wipes and Dipes. And I'm excited to, promote that and get some good things coming for our Phoenix families. But yes, we are sure that y'all are all aware of what's going on with our families and friends out in Texas and such. And so I just wanted to point out that there is a birth worker in Houston, Texas, who's doing some incredible work and organizing. And there is a fund that is providing direct aid to families impacted by the storms and the lack of leadership happening out in Texas. And so if you want to know more about that and to, give directly to these families and know that your money is going into the right space, you can visit karma.org/Houston. And of course, we'll have that in the show notes. Or you can connect with Sankofa Mama on Instagram. So that's at Sankofa Mama and learn more. And so we'll drop that's information in the show notes. But of course, just, there's a lot going on right now, y'all. So take care of yourselves, take care of your families, and, support your community where you can. But also don't feel guilty if you can't, because again, there's a lot of shit happening to a lot of us. So give where you can, support your community, but also take care of yourselves. And then let us know if y'all know of any funds or donation drives and such that is collecting things for folks around the country, and we can shout those out as well.
Yeah, for sure. I know there's a lot of shit going on, but there's a lot of good shit going on. So definitely, I'm keeping that hope alive and trying to spread some goodness myself as well. And Sydney is also going to be working on stuff. And so if you can't contribute monetarily, you can't buy anything, the least that you could do is obviously share. And so we hope that you'll share the stuff that we're going to be working on so that we can grow the reach, because the more people who could give $1, 50 cents, that shit adds up. So Absolutely. With that being said, I'll read our little quote. And so it isn't where you come from, it's where you're going that counts, by Ella Fitzgerald, which I feel like is the perfect quote for today's episode. So
ain't it? Boom. Yeah. And it's Ella. So
I know, right?
Some more Black greatness right on top of that.
Word.
All right. Well, you've just listened to episode 3 of season 2 of Forever Friends and the Shit We Care About. We hope y'all are entertained and informed, and we'll see y'all again. Yes, inspired.
All right, y'all. Holler back.